everyone. I'm Maritza Barone and welcome to my podcast, Things You Can't Unhear. As a presenter with a focus on wellness, I have interviewed very many health professionals in my time and heard stories that have opened my eyes about the world we live in today. But I found the best bits that I take home with me and the things I heard that have changed my life are usually when the recording shuts off and we can talk in length behind the scenes. And that's the information that I want to share with you on this podcast. Today we're going to be speaking to Stephanie Warburton about managing grief after death and also finding that peak point to maximize our psychic ability and our intuition. Now, Stephanie is currently a mindset and performance coach and energy therapist with the St.Kilda Football Club. Having worked with people from all walks of life, she holds a safe space for her clients to tap into their full potential with qualifications in kinesiology, Reiki, and even equine therapy. She also helps her clients focus and enhance mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual areas of their lives. Hi, Steph. I'm so pleased you're here with me today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Now, I've heard you speak once before at a wellness retreat which I attended, and you were incredibly captivating in that short amount of time. And since then, I've been following your work, and you're quite a fascinating person.
Oh, thank you. At least I'm not boring.
No, you're not boring. You're almost a little bit hard to define in one short spiel, aren't you? As there's so many elements to you.
I don't really, when people ask me what I do, I don't even know what to come back with. I'm just me, and whatever that is, there's an umbrella, and there's so many things under that umbrella.
But how do you explain and, talk through your work as a mindset performance coach?
Okay, so I guess, like you said, it's a bit hard to explain what I do in one kind of go, but I feel like there's two elements to me and what I actually do. So the mindset coaching is all started at St. Kilda Football Club, and with that direction, I work with athletes and the coaches and helping the boys to, I guess, have a better understanding of their mental side of things when it comes to the sport, football, or their game plan or what they're doing on the field. But also outside of that as well, so off-field stuff, so personal life, or helping to develop their minds, I guess, or helping them to see things on a different level. So, we do meditation. We talk about life stuff, universe stuff, energy. So it's a bit diverse.
I can't picture many footballers being into life and universe and spirituality. Is that something that you introduce to them?
Slyly, yes. But look, I keep it very humanized, if you want to call it that. I don't really talk about the spiritual side as much as what I would like to, or I guess what I actually do on the outside of football. I keep it very humanized, as I said, and very logical. So it's very hard to put spirituality into a logical form. But you'll be surprised with how many guys are actually into it and how many of the boys actually want to talk about it.
Well, that's good. It seems to be a big shift happening with humanity anyway, opening up to something else. And, it's hard to just say, oh, there's only one part of life and it's all black and white. And I think there is a lot more people opening up to spirituality and looking further than, just that one thing. Now, when I first heard you speak, I remember you saying you use signs from the universe or from past loved ones to guide you at a certain point in your life. Tell us about that and how you use it and how we can learn to use that.
It's such I guess the backstory to that for me is my mum died at a young age for me. So I was 17 when she passed. And for me, there's always been an afterlife. Like, I've never not believed in, something else out there. So from that day on, I guess I've always trusted what I've seen. So my family, mum used to sit out the back of our house and feed the kookaburras. So, when she passed, there was a whole heap of kookaburras on our back lawn, and it was quite amazing. And it's like, when I explain this, some people look at me like, oh, that's really strange. Or I guess the people that have lost close loved ones understand a little bit more, because you're always searching for something to hold on to. So, from that day forward, whenever myself or my family saw a kookaburra, we would always message each other or say, something's going to happen today, or are you okay? Or we would know that mum was checking in on us, and I would have pretty intense dreams. And like I said, I've always believed that something else is out there. I've never had a closed mind to anything else. So, going through life from 17, if I, wanted a sign and, mum, help me, am I going in the right direction? If I saw a kookaburra, I would know that, okay, I'm on the right path. Or if I was applying for jobs and I saw a kookaburra, just for example, I opened up my own dancing studio, and I was looking everywhere for a space to set up this studio. And the last place I looked at, on the front of the door, there was a kookaburra painted on it.
Oh, wow.
And I just, to Dad, I turned around and I said, this is it, this is the studio. And he said, how do you know? And I said, because that's a sign, that's right in front of my face. How could I miss that? And it turns out the next week I did get that space. So it's just about opening your mind and finding something to believe in, I guess.
And it's quite comforting too, I suppose, because, you know that you can sense her there. And although she was physically gone at such a young age for you, you know that she's still around and supporting you and protecting you and guiding you. And I think that's so beautiful. And it's such an important thing to moving on past the physical realm, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think anyone who's dealt with a death of any kind, I guess, you need, there's a grief process and grieving process, and you need something to hang on to. And 17's young, and still now I'm turning 32 in 2 weeks, and I still talk to her every day and ask her for signs. And I think as you get older, the grieving process becomes a little bit more difficult, if I'm honest with you. Reality kicks in. When you're young, you kind of just keep going with the motions. You don't understand things. Your parents protect you from things, so you don't know the full facts sometimes. I mean, I'm only speaking for myself and, some people that I've worked with, but, 32, you want to call your mum and ask her for advice, or you want to sit down and ask her about life, or what was it like when I was a kid, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, you seem to have really mastered being guided by your intuition.
Yeah.
How do you think you've tapped into it so well, and how do you teach others how to do this?
Oh, that's a really good question. So we have what we call the ego, and that's our mental mind that becomes stuck in fear, anxiety, anger, hurt and pain. That's the part of ourselves that thinks that we're better than anyone else, or money and all that kind of stuff. And then we've got the intuition, the real feminine side, the gut instinct, the trusting process. And it's a really hard, they're two really hard things to, sometimes you don't know if you're listening to your ego or your intuition.
That's really true, because it's really hard to differentiate. We all hear those voices and those feelings, and it's like, was that my gut speaking? Was that my heart speaking? Was that my brain speaking? Which one was it? And learning to trust which one it is where a lot of people fall over.
It's a really, really difficult, it takes time and practice. And like anything, it's like a physical sport. And if we use football for an example, they train to be the best at what they do. They train to be good at their profession. Intuition is the exact same as the same with your mental self. It's something you need to train. You can't just expect that to fall into place straight away. And I guess, from my point of view, like I said to you, I've never not believed. So I've always had an element of trust. I've always had an open mind, and I think that really helps. And I'm not saying people with a closed mind or anything like that find it, maybe I do suggest that they might find it a little bit more difficult, if I'm honest.
Yep, or maybe they ignore it a little bit more.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to put it. They ignore it. And then trusting is knowing in your gut. I think if you're trying to make a decision, you need to listen to what feels good for you. And I think your body is your intuition.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too when you're around certain people or at places and you feel drained and deflated. And that, I feel, is almost your intuition saying, you don't really feel like you don't really belong here. You need to sort of step away from being in this place, or maybe spend some less time with those particular people, or do something completely different to what you're doing now. And I think that feeling is also your intuition, is that thing that's guiding you to do the thing that's right for your soul.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I teach on a number of occasions. I've said that to the boys here at St.Kilda. When you walk into a room, what do you want your energy to feel like? What do you feel your energy is telling you when you're in the room? And it's like taking it out onto the field. How do you want people to see you? Because your energy is everything, and your energy and your intuition go hand in hand.
I'm glad you brought up energy, because how does energy therapy work, and what benefits do your clients gain from it?
I guess the way it started for me was I studied kinesiology and I became a kinesiologist, and it can be a very structured technique. And for me, I'm not a structured person. I like to kind of do things just randomly and generally, not follow a rule book or anything. So yeah, it's balancing chakras, it's balancing emotions in the body. It's, the way I explain it is investigating what's stuck in your body and what's causing you pain or damage or heartache or injury or anything like that, and just tapping into the chakras and your aura. So your auric field is so important, and that past life stuff as well, and clearing it and helping the person to become aware of what they're holding on to and why.
Because ignoring it can cause even more problems, right?
Oh, I think this is where I watched my mum. So my mum was diagnosed with cancer when I was 9, and I watched her stress and her pain and her depression, and I have just promised myself that I will never get to that point. And I believe that her illness or her death was caused by emotions stuck in the body.
Wow. So clearing that is absolutely vital to our health.
Yeah, I think so. That is my opinion. And it's not just seeing energy therapists, it's seeing, it's using a whole umbrella of physicians. Like it could be a physio or a doctor or a counsellor, whatever that is for you.
So what do you do in your life to sort of really clear these blockages?
I see a kinesiologist, and I always say, if you want to be in this field of work, or if you want to be the clearest person that you can be for yourself, or work on yourself, or follow your inner journey, open your intuition, whatever that is, I always say that you must work on yourself. So for me, that's seeing a kinesiologist, once a month or every fortnight. I have a spiritual kinesiologist where it's more energy work. We work on past life or emotions, or surrogating, which is taking on someone else's emotions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Because
everyone we meet is a reflection of ourselves, especially when there's trauma or drama involved. And then I did see a counsellor for a little bit. I don't see them anymore. And I see, sometimes I see psychics to help me out.
You can almost psychically read my next questions, because you are well in the flow with me. And when you said psychic, I was actually just about to ask you that too, because I sensed when I met you that you did have a psychic ability as well. Is that true?
Yeah, so I guess my passion is psychic mediumship, so that's pretty much how I started. And it's all intertwined. So the energy work I do is all psychic stuff as well. So I do psychic mediumship readings, and that's what I love. And I'm not actually doing any healing at the moment. I'm only doing readings. So I think I was booked out for 6 months in advance there for a while.
So tell us how you read these psychic messages that come through to you.
Your questions are good. It's about trusting it. There's an element of intuition, and there's an element of having your guides too. So if you really want me to go off on the spiritual path, I guess that's talking to your spirit guides. It's connecting with your loved ones. It's learning how to read the messages that they're sending you. So that could be clairaudient, clairvoyant, where you see the messages in your mind, or you hear them, or you feel them, clairsentient. So it's about training that as well. And that, I guess that started from a young age as well, but I didn't start using it until I was about 28.
So can you learn this stuff, or do you feel like it's a gift?
I think that anyone can learn it. It's all down to trust. It's trusting yourself, and I do believe anyone can learn it, but I do think, like anything else, there are other people that have a little bit more than others.
So when you were a child, what type of signs were you getting that you could have a psychic ability?
When I was younger, I used to hear things in the house.
Like voices or?
Yeah, voices, or, lights would go on and off, or my dreams have always been very psychic. My sister also has an element where she used to see spirit. And then when Mum died, that's when it really took off. So I would have dreams, and I would wake up and be able to tell the family things that were going to happen the next day, or that were going to happen, who was going to pass, or if something was going to happen in the family, anything like that.
Wow, that can be quite frightening, having those types of dreams and sharing those messages, can't they? I mean, you don't want to be the bearer of bad news either. Do you try and filter bad news that you get through your psychic ability, or do you sort of just share the positive messages?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I think with a lot of people, they're quite scared to have psychic readings or get messages because they're like, I don't want to hear anything bad, or I don't want to know if anyone's going to die. And it most certainly doesn't work like that. With psychics, it's about the reader. You've got to read well, and you've got to know how to connect with people. And I think with my family, I've just always been open. They've always known that I'm the different one. So I've just been able to just speak about it freely, which is nice.
Do you feel like you've got a quite a good success rate with this this ability of yours? Like, are you ever wrong? Are you ever?
I don't want to talk myself up, but no.
I'm never wrong.
No, there's definitely times when I'm wrong, and there's definitely times where things change. I mean, when someone sits in front of me and I'm reading for them, I say, this is where you're at right now, and don't take what I say and then go, that's what I have to do, or that's what's going to definitely 100% happen. At the end of the day, everyone has a choice. And most people come to you when they're going through life crisis, trauma, breakup, divorce, miscarriage, death, change of work, whatever that is. Usually, with psychic stuff, you're just there for advice, and the person already knows the answer. They just want confirmation.
Yeah. And I like how you say that things are changeable and you're not stuck in that certain thing. You can physically change things with your mind and your thoughts, and the pathway isn't always set.
No, absolutely not. This is another tricky one. I think that you have a soul purpose, and I think that your soul always knows what's going to happen regardless of whatever happens in your life. And I think that and that's your soul side of things, but then your human side needs to live your life. So you need to make the mistakes. You need to make the changes. Exactly. But I think your soul already knows that that's going to happen.
Exactly. I could ask you about that for hours, but I should move on now. So you live out in the country, surrounded by nature, and of course, majestic horses. How do you use the horses in your work, and what's your equine connection that you've got?
Oh my gosh, the horses, they can tell you so much. I think they're so underrated for those who don't know horses, but I guess it's like all animals really. But for me, when I work with horses, I work with horse and rider.
Right.
So I find the connection of what's missing, or what the horse wants to tell the rider, or anything like that. So it's a bit of mindset stuff, but it's also a bit of psychic stuff. So it kind of goes hand in hand.
Do you send people out there to sort of have time in equine therapy as well, in terms of just going out there, being mindful, almost doing a person and horse meditation? Or are they purely riders that you try and get connected with that animal?
Okay, so I do the rider horse element, so that's one side of things, and I actually travel to Queensland and do a fair bit of work in Queensland with that stuff. But then there's also other things that I get the person to come out and work with the horse. So the horse will know if you're angry, sad, happy, anxious, afraid, because horses are really powerful animals, and what they do is they show you what's wrong with you.
Mm.
So they will react with how you're feeling.
Right. Can you give us an example of how you've seen it work?
So just say you're lunging your horse, which is you've got a rope connecting the horse to yourself, and it's going around in a circle, and you're feeling really frustrated already, and you've had a really crappy day at work, or you're going through a breakup or something like that. You're just not feeling connected with yourself. The horse will not do what you want it to do. Won't be listening to you, it'll go off and do its own thing, but then it forces you to actually get angry and deal with your emotions. So you might start crying, or you might find yourself getting really frustrated, but it's not actually, you think it's about the horse, but it's not. It's actually about yourself.
And then you look at yourself and you're like, why am I getting so upset here? What's the problem?
Yeah. What's actually going on. Yeah.
Really?
But then it's so funny, because once you let that out and you become comfortable with, oh, okay, fine, I've had my cry, I've had my little anger outburst, I'm over it now, the horse will then relax.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've gotten a lot again from you, and I always try to end every interview with a bit of a message from the person that I'm interviewing on really a bit of a life vision or a mission for people out there, or even just something, one step to get them started into, a more centered mindset. So what do you believe is a great way for people to really master their mindset and have control over their thoughts and their feelings?
I think the best thing is to be present. Because when we're so anxious, it's because we're looking into the future. When we're so depressed and sad, it's because we're looking into the past. I think it's so important to be centered and ask yourself questions. I think it's so important to always tune in and ask why you're feeling a certain way, and don't be afraid of the answers.
Because the answers can be scary for people, and, it's hard sometimes to ignore those answers and go through those questions, but we've got to man up, right? We've got to man or woman up.
And it's confronting, because there's some things we just don't want to deal with. And that's, oh my God, I'm so guilty of that. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to go through I don't want to cry sometimes, so I just leave it and ignore it. But eventually it's going to catch up on you.
And come and bite you on the bottom.
Oh, it sure does.
Well, thank you, Steph. I absolutely adore speaking to you. And if you've gotten a lot out of this interview, I'm sure you have, you can follow Steph at purelymindset.com, which is her website, and learn more about you. And you're on Instagram too, Steph. What's your Instagram handle?
It's Steph Warby.
Yes, excellent. And you can see lots of images there of you and your horses and out in the countryside and in nature, and it's absolutely beautiful. Makes me want to pack up and leave.
I know. Anyone is welcome to come and visit at any time.
We'd love to. Now, I just love hearing from our listeners too, so feel free to contact me and let me know what you thought of this episode, or even perhaps be part of the next show and share your wellbeing story or life vision. You can get in touch with me at Maritza_Barone on Instagram. Be happy, be healthy, be mindful, and be kind. Thanks, Steph.
Thank you.